This is Bone Chillers to disturb your dreams. Dare to join us? Click subscribe. Ring the bell. But remember, we cannot guarantee your safety from the nightmares that await. Prepare to be thrilled, chilled, and filled with a sense of dread you'll find nowhere else. Welcome to the darkness. We've been waiting.
The sealed book.
Once again, the keeper of the book is ready to open the ponderous volume in which is recorded all the secrets and mysteries of mankind through the ages. All the strange and mystifying stories of the past, the present, and the future. Keeper of the book, what tale will you tell us this time?
What tale shall I tell you? I have tales here of every kind. Tales of murder, tales of madness, of dark deeds and events strange beyond all belief. Let me see. Yes, here's a tale for you. Strange and terrible story of two old ladies and how they tried to escape from their doom. I call the story Escape by Death. My story begins in a big shabby old house in the country, fully a mile from any other habitation. In a large ground floor room, which is both their bedroom and sitting room, Martha and Louise Abbott listen to the wind howl outside. Louise is an invalid, confined to a wheelchair. Martha, though able to walk, can only hobble a few steps at a time, so that to them the lonely house is almost like a prison.
Listen to that wind, Louise. Oh, I do hate living out in the country like this. We're so isolated from everybody.
Oh, yes, Martha. It was so much nicer when we lived in our own house in the village.
Even if Roger and Hester are our nephew and niece, we should never have let them persuade us to move out here with them. Oh, what is it, Toby? Queenie? Oh, our mother's darling's hungry. Even Toby and Queenie don't like living here.
Yes, they do seem unhappy. Queenie hasn't been eating well.
Louise, it's very foolish for us to stay here with Roger and Hester. I think I hear Hester coming now. We'll tell her right away that we want to go back to our old home.
Here I am at last, Aunt Louise. Aunt Martha, I brought you tea and some cake I just made this afternoon.
Thank you, dear.
I have the Daily Sentinel for you. George Gibson just delivered it. I haven't even opened it yet.
Thank you. Roger, Louise and I have been talking things over. It was very kind of you to invite us to live here with you, but we were much happier living in the village. We want to go back.
But Aunt Martha, it's much better for you here. Really it is.
Of course, you're just homesick, both of you.
You'll get over it. Pretty soon you'll love the country as much as we do.
Now, we don't want to hear another word about your leaving us. We couldn't be happy thinking of you alone and helpless in the village. Come along, Roger. Let them drink their tea.
All right, Hester. See you both later.
Oh, I do wish they'd let us go back.
There's no reason why we shouldn't.
Do you remember the teas we used to give? Mary Thompson came over every afternoon. It was so nice.
There's no reason we can't move back and give those teas again. We won't be alone or helpless either. With all the money Father left us, we can afford a dozen servants. Louise, we are going back. I've made up my mind.
Oh, Martha, I'm so glad.
Listen to Toby and Queenie. They're glad we're going back too, aren't you, you fat old darlings?
Oh, they understand you, Mother. They know we're not going to stay here much longer.
Of course they do. Well, now that's settled. Let's see what's in the Sentinel. Let's see now.
Oh, Martha, let's look at the obituary notices first.
Just what I was turning to, Louise. Here we are.
Did anyone we know die?
Now let me see. Yes. You remember Amos Wilson, don't you?
Yes.
He died 2 days ago.
Poor Amos. He was about your age, wasn't he, Martha?
Certainly not. He was a good deal older.
Martha, look at this. Why, it says that Mary Thompson is entering the county home for the infirm.
The poorhouse? Oh, no, it can't be.
You can read it for yourself. Oh, that dreadful place. I'd rather be dead than in that home.
Poor Mary.
Martha, after we move back to the village, can't we have Mary come to live with us?
Yes, of course. Why, going to the poorhouse would be the death of her.
No, it can't be.
What can't be?
Read what it says there in the real estate column. The old Abbott mansion, owned by the Mrs. Martha and Louise Abbott, has been put up for sale by their nephew, Roger Clark.
What? Why, it must be a mistake.
Oh.
We never told Roger to sell our house. Roger!
Now, Martha, we mustn't get excited.
But why should he want to sell our house? I don't permit it.
Calling me, Aunt Martha?
Yes, Roger. What's this in the Sentinel about our house being up for sale?
Oh, is it in the Sentinel? Oh, I'm so sorry.
It is a mistake, isn't it, Roger?
Well, no, Aunt Louise. Since the house isn't being used, I thought it would be a good idea to sell it.
But you had no right to put the house up for sale without telling me.
Now, don't get yourself excited, Aunt Martha. If you don't want the house sold, I'll remove it from the market.
You must, Roger. We couldn't live if the house was sold.
All right. Now I'll take care of everything. Don't you worry. Everything's going to be all right.
I don't like it, Louise. I don't like it at all. Why should he try to sell it without telling us?
It does seem strange.
Louise, we must get in touch with Judge Morris at once. He's the administrator of Father's estate. He'll take care of everything for us the way we want it. I didn't like the look in Roger's eyes just now. I've always been suspicious of Roger, and if you want my opinion, he and Hester are up to something. Is Mother's beautiful Queenie hungry? Well, here's a nice piece of meat from the lovely supper Hester just brought us.
Oh, Queenie is hungry, Martha. She's got her appetite back since she learned we intend going back to the village.
Yes, she has, but where's Toby? I don't see him around any
He's
place.
probably in the kitchen. Martha, when are you going to speak to Roger and Hester again about our leaving?
And I'm waiting until we can get in touch with Judge Morris. He'll come get us whether Roger wants us to go or not. There's been something very strange about Roger's manner ever since we told him yesterday we didn't want to stay.
Martha, look! Queenie's ill.
Oh.
That meat you gave her, it's made her sick.
Queenie, oh, what's the matter with Mother's darling?
Oh, Martha, there's something terribly wrong with her.
Queenie, What is it? Oh, Louise, what can we do?
Give us some water. Maybe that'll help. Martha, she's fallen down.
She's dead, Louise. Queenie is dead.
Oh, no, she can't.
But she is, though she was perfectly all right until I gave her that meat.
She was so hungry, she just bolted it down. Oh, Martha, she must have choked on it. She's choked to death.
Did she? I'm not so sure.
Martha, what do you mean? What else could it have been?
She acted more as if she were poisoned.
Poisoned?
Yes, I'm sure of it. The meat was poisoned. That's why Queenie died.
But how's that possible?
It was poisoned because that meat was meant for us.
Martha, you don't mean that Roger and Hester...
Yes, Louise. Oh, I see it now. That's why they brought us out here. Why they won't let us leave. They're planning to kill us. They're after our money.
Oh, Martha, what are we going to do?
Well, we've got to get in touch with Judge Morris right away. He'll save us.
But, Martha, how can we? The telephone, it's upstairs in Hester's room, and neither of us can climb stairs.
I know that. We've got to figure another way to reach him. Louise, our lives depend upon it.
All that night, the two old ladies, terror in their hearts, tossed and turned in an effort to think of a way of escape from the horrible trap in which they found themselves. In the morning, they thought they had discovered how to do it. When George Gibson, the rural mail carrier, came by, Louise called to him and gave him a frantic message to Judge Morris, which he promised to deliver. However, a few minutes later, encountering Roger, their nephew, George Gibson told him what had happened, and Roger managed to persuade him not to deliver the message. Then Roger hurried home to consult with Hester.
Roger, you say that while Martha was out here in the kitchen with me, Louise was giving George Gibson a message for Judge Morris?
Yes. And she seemed so excited that George stopped me on the road to tell me about it. Hester, I'm afraid they suspect.
Oh, no, they mustn't. We mustn't let them.
I should say not, after all the trouble we've gone to. Well, it would ruin everything. We've got to quiet their suspicion somehow. We've got to make them like it here, so they'd be perfectly content to stay with us until they die.
And now to return to the story of escape by death, as it is written in the sealed book. For 24 hours, Martha and Louise have waited in trembling impatience for George Gibson to bring word that Judge Morris has received their frantic appeal for help.
Oh, Martha, where can George be? He's more than an hour late.
And he's probably just been delayed. Maybe the car broke down. He'll be here soon.
Yes, here he comes now. He's turning up the drive. Oh, Martha, I was so worried.
I told you he wouldn't fail us.
But there's Roger taking the mail from him. Suppose Roger doesn't let him see us. He might...
Louise.
What is it, Martha? What's wrong?
That isn't George Gibson delivering the mail.
Not George Gibson?
No, that's a much younger man. Now he's leaving. Roger's coming back in the house.
Martha, where do you suppose George is?
I don't know. I don't understand.
Perhaps he's sick today.
Here comes Roger.
Hello, Aunt Martha. Aunt Louise. Here's a magazine that came in the mail. I thought you might like to see it.
Thank you, Roger.
Why didn't George Gibson deliver the mail today?
Oh, you saw that there was a new driver. Well, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but yesterday afternoon, poor George was killed.
Killed?
Oh, no.
He had a bad accident as he was returning to the village.
An accident?
Yes, I'd rather not talk about it anymore now. It'll just upset you. Hester will bring you some supper soon.
Poor George.
Well, that means Judge Morris didn't get our message.
Oh, Martha.
Don't you see, Louise? That wasn't any accident. George was killed to keep him from going to Judge Morris.
Martha, you can't mean that Roger and Hester...
Yes, Louise, they'll stop at nothing to get our money.
But what are we going to do? We can't get a message to anyone. And they're poisoning our food. We haven't eaten a thing since poor Queenie died. We can't go on throwing the food away or we'll starve.
There's only one thing to do. Toby must sample our food.
You mean to see if it's poison?
Yes. It's dreadful, having to risk poor Toby's life, but it's the only thing we can do. Here you are, Toby, a nice piece of meat for Mother's darling.
Martha, I get so frightened every time I see Toby eating something. I keep remembering Queenie, the dreadful way she died.
Now, Louise, we mustn't think of that. Here, Toby, dear.
Martha, why are you feeding Toby?
Well, he gets plenty to eat in the kitchen. He'll die of overeating if you aren't careful.
I've always fed Toby from my own plate. He expects it.
But, Aunt Martha, if you feed that meat to the cat, there won't be enough for you.
No. And if you're to get well, you need all that food. Now, I don't want you feeding Toby any more of it.
Here, Toby. Come on, boy. Come on. Come on out the kitchen there. Martha and Louise eat their supper.
Here you are, Aunt Martha. Aunt Louise, I've bought you your lunch. Doesn't it look good?
Yes, Hester, it's very nice.
Here, Toby. Here, kitty, kitty, kitty. Hester, have you seen Toby?
No, Aunt Martha, I haven't.
Oh, but where could he be? Toby's always on time for meals.
Oh, he's probably someplace around the house. Now, eat your lunch before it gets cold.
Oh, Martha, where can he be?
Toby'll be along in a few minutes. We won't touch a bit of this food until he's eaten some of it.
I do wish he were here. I'm so hungry.
Louise, don't touch a thing on that tray. It isn't safe.
Here, Toby. Here, kitty, 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 kitty.
Good evening, Aunt Martha. Aunt Louise. How are you?
Good evening, Roger.
I have supper here for you, too. Why, Aunt Martha, neither of you ate your lunch. What's wrong?
We weren't hungry, Hester.
Have you found Toby yet?
No, I've looked everywhere for him, but he seems to have disappeared.
Oh, no.
Now, you mustn't worry. I'm sure he'll turn up all
Aunt
right.
Martha, you and Aunt Louise can't afford to miss meals in your state of health.
Certainly not. Now, we want you to eat everything that Hester's brought you.
Mm-hmm. You'll make us very unhappy if you don't. Now, please eat it while it's hot. Come along, Roger. I'll get you your supper.
All right, dear.
Did you hear what she said about Toby, Louise?
Yes, he's vanished.
Nonsense. They've killed him. You saw how angry they were last night when we fed Toby from our plates. They've killed him so he won't spoil their plans.
Oh, Martha, what are we going to do? I'm so hungry that my head spins and I'm dizzy.
I know, Louise. So am I. Oh, I hate them. I hate them.
We're leaving them our money and our wills. They'll get it soon enough. Why must they kill us?
Because they're nothing but common murderers. I distrusted Roger from the minute Hester first brought him to our house.
Yes, it's his fault. He's changed Hester. She used to be such a sweet girl.
Oh, if there was only some way to get word to the village, or to bring somebody here to help us. Louise, I have an idea.
What is it, Martha?
There's one way to bring people here.
What, Martha?
If we were to set fire to the house, somebody would be sure to see the flames.
Yes, of course. And then the fire company would come out.
Then we'd be able to tell them we'd be saved.
Oh, but Martha, Hester and Roger would put out the fire before it could get big enough to be seen.
Louise, I know a way we can prevent them from putting out the fire.
You do?
Yes, we can save ourselves, Louise. We can save ourselves. Here, Toby. Here, kitty, kitty, kitty.
Martha, why are you looking down the cellar stairs like that? Now, you should be in your room.
Certainly should. It's drafty out here in the hall. Now close the cellar door and go back to your room.
But I heard Toby crying. He's down in the cellar, and I won't go to my room until I get him.
But Aunt Martha...
Roger, just to put Aunt Martha's mind at ease, why don't you go down the cellar and see if Toby is there?
Oh, all right. But if you ask me, it's just a waste of time.
Please help him look for Toby, Hester. You'll find him so much quicker if you both look for him.
Aunt Martha...
Please.
Oh, very well. But you go back to your room so you don't catch cold. Roger, do you see him?
Doesn't seem to be any place here in the cellar.
Now we'll see just how smart you are, trying to poison us. There. You won't stop us from escaping now. Now let's get Louise. Louise! Louise, it worked.
You mean you were able to lock them in the cellar?
Yes, and with the door locked, they can't get out.
They found out they're locked in.
Now, don't you worry about it, Louise. I'll take care of everything.
What are you doing with that kerosene lamp, Martha?
Pouring the kerosene around the room so it will burn better. There. Are you ready to leave, Louise?
Yes, Martha, yes.
Now strike a match and start the fire.
How quickly it's starting to spread.
Yes, we've got to leave. I'll push your wheelchair, Louise, and you try to help by rolling the wheels. Yes, Martha. Well, we're coming along nicely. Good more, dear. Come on. Just a little bit more.
Martha, I do hate to do this.
Louise, you mustn't waste any pity on them. Even if they are our niece and nephew, they're nothing but common murderers.
Yes, I suppose you're right.
Now, I'll just open the front door, and we'll be free. Now, roll the wheels a bit, Louise. That's right. And just a few feet more, and we'll be safe. Yes, that's it. There. Now we're far enough away from the house to be perfectly safe.
Oh, my. The whole house is on fire. Do you think they can see it in the village by now, Martha?
I'm sure they do. Now remember, Louise, when the fire company gets here, we don't know what happened to Roger and Hester. We just managed to get out ourselves.
Yes, Martha.
If we told them what we were forced to do to escape, we'd have to reveal that our own niece and nephew were poisoners, murderers. We don't want to disgrace the family name, Louise.
Oh, no, Martha, of course not. Look, Martha, look! The moon is going!
Oh, and here comes the fire engine. Louise, we're saved. We're saved. Good morning, Judge Morris.
Good morning, Miss Martha, Miss Louise. I trust you're well after that terrible ordeal last night.
Oh, we're feeling much better. Thank you, Judge Morris.
I know it'll be painful for you, but now that your niece and nephew are gone, we must plan for your future.
Oh, you don't have to bother, Judge. All we want to do is move back to our old house. hire a few servants, and live as we used to.
Yes.
And I was wondering if you could arrange to have Mary Thompson come live with us. I won't hear of her going to that dreadful home for the infirm. Why, the poorhouse would be the death of her.
Oh, no, we can't let her go there.
With all the money Father left us, there's no reason why she should.
Ladies, I'd hoped I'd never have to reveal the truth to you, but now it appears I must.
The truth? I don't understand, Judge.
Some weeks ago, the bonds in the trust fund your father left you became utterly worthless.
What?
Your nephew and niece were afraid the shock of learning you were penniless would be too much for you. So it was decided to keep the news from you. That's why the three of us persuaded you to move in with them. Your house here in the village had to be sold to meet the debts of the estate.
But that can't be. Father left us so much.
It's all worthless now. Perhaps I should have told you this a month ago. But your niece and nephew wouldn't hear of it. In spite of the fact that they had only Roger's salary to live on, they were determined to prevent you from ever learning of your misfortune.
Oh, but the deaths of poor Queenie and Toby, of George Gibson.
George Gibson?
Yes.
I'm afraid I don't understand. Surely you heard that he was killed. The tire blew out and his car turned over.
You mean he wasn't murdered?
Certainly not.
Oh,
You feeling well? Has my news been too much for you?
no.
Well, now that your niece and nephew are gone, there's no one to support you, I'm afraid there's only one thing left.
One thing left? What's that?
I'm sorry to say, believe me, I am. The county home for the infirm.
Oh.
The poorhouse.
That is the tale of escape by death, as it is written in the sealed book. Louise and Martha, because they could not believe that the death of their cat was an accident, convinced themselves that they were in danger of being killed, and in their frantic efforts to escape, ruthlessly destroyed their only protectors. Strange are the ways in which fate plays tricks on mere mortals. The sound of the great gong tells me it's time to close the sealed book once more.
One moment, Keeper of the Book. What story from the sealed book will you tell us next time?
Next time? What kind of a tale would you like? A story of ghosts, of vampires, of werewolves howling in the night? A tale of dark plots and evil deeds? Of a strange fate overtaking the guilty? Let me see. I'll find one for you in just a moment.
And now, Keeper of the Book, have you found the story that you'll tell next time?
Yes, I found one for you. It's the amazing story of a woman's jealousy, so great that it would not let her lie quietly in her grave, but made her seek revenge even from behind the dark veil of death. I call it Death at Stormhouse.
Be sure to be with us next time to hear another strange and mysterious story from
The Sealed Book.
The Sealed Book, written by Bob Arthur and David Cogan, is produced and directed by Jock McGregor. The Sealed Book. Once again, the keeper of the book has opened the ponderous door to the secret vault, wherein is kept the great sealed book, in which is recorded all the secrets and mysteries of mankind through the ages. Here are tales of every kind, tales of murder, of madness, of dark deeds strange and terrible beyond all belief. Keeper of the book, I would know what tale we tell this time. Open the great book and let us read. Slowly, the great book opens. One by one, the keeper of the book turns the pages and stops. Ah, the strange story of a beautiful woman whose jealousy was so great that even the grave could not give her peace. A tale called Death at Stormhouse. Here is the tale, Death at Stormhouse, as it is written in the pages of the sealed book. It takes place in the old New England mansion known as Stormhouse, perched high on the cliffs above the crashing waves of the Atlantic Ocean. In her bedroom, Lizette Lester, young and beautiful mistress of Stormhouse, lies desperately ill, listening to the storm that is raging outside as her husband and Dr. Warren, their lifelong friend, hover over her.
John.
Yes, Lizette.
John, open the window. I want to hear the storm. I want to hear the thunder crash and the wind scream.
I'll open it, John. You stay with Lizette.
Thank you, Howard.
Oh, it's a wonderful storm. I've known it was coming for 3 days. I've always known when a storm was coming, haven't I, John?
Yes. Yes, Lizette. You've always known.
And I've been waiting for this one. I've been waiting for it so I could die as I was born. On a night when there's a storm filling the sky and death riding the wind to take me as it took my mother that night.
Lizette, don't say that.
You mustn't excite yourself, Lizette. It weakens you.
I'm dying, Doctor. You know it as well as I do. It's only the storm that's keeping me alive now.
Oh, Lizette. Lizette.
John, darling,
Yes, Lizette.
in my will there's a bequest to old Andrew for his faithful service. Everything else is left to you, including the house. on condition that you live here at least 6 months out of every year for the rest of your life.
Lisette, I can't bear to talk about it.
We must, darling. You don't mind the condition that you live here half of every year, do you?
Of course not, my dearest.
I couldn't bear to think of you as ever very far from me, in life or in death.
I'll always be with you, my darling.
And you won't marry again, will you, John?
Never, Lisette. I swear it.
You've sworn it, John. You mustn't break your vow. If you do, I'll be angry. Very angry. And when I'm angry, I do terrible things. You know that.
I know, darling. You have my promise. I'll never break it.
It's such a beautiful night. All my life, I've never been able to sleep on a night like this. I wonder if now when the storm sweeps in from the sea, I'll know it and wake up. Oh.
Lisette. Lisette. John. She's gone.
There. It's done, Mr. John. I couldn't want better if it was myself buried down there in the ground.
Thank you, Andrew.
I'll put the tools away now. Call me if you want me.
I can't believe it's Lisette we've buried here, Howard. Somehow she seems still alive. She loved living so.
It's a beautiful spot here on the edge of the cliff.
She made me promise she should be buried here, where she could watch the storms come in from the sea, hear the waves beating on the rocks below.
John, do you mind if I speak personally to you?
Why should I? You're my best friend. My only one, in fact.
That's one of the things I wanted to talk about. In the 3 years since you married, you haven't painted a single picture.
No. No, I haven't. I've started some, but there was always something Lisette wanted to do.
For 3 years you've been cooped up here, seeing no one. You might as well have been in prison. You should get away for a while now. Why don't you spend the winter in New York? Renew old friendship. Catch up on what's happening in painting.
Yes, I'd like that.
And there's another thing.
Yes, Howard?
The promise you made to Lisette.
Promise? Oh, you mean not to marry again?
Yes. You mustn't take it too seriously. You're too young to spend your life alone, grieving. Lisette wouldn't have made you promise if she had thought...
I don't know. It seemed to mean so much to her. Well, when Lisette was alive, it seemed quite impossible to me I should ever love another woman.
But you will. And I'm sure Lisette would understand.
I'll think about it, Howard. The truth is, just now I feel a little confused.
Well, let time take care of the matter. But you will close up Stormhouse and try a few months in the city?
Yes, I will. I'll come back in the spring. After all, I'm obligated to live here half the year. But I'll leave old Andrew in charge and spend the winter in New York.
now to continue the story, as it is written in the sealed book. Once away from the somber atmosphere of Stormhouse, John Lester seemed to waken as if from a dream. He began to paint again, to live as he had before his marriage to Lizette. Then at a party he met Nora Maynard, young, gay, lovely. And one day in the spring he brought her back to Stormhouse as his bride. He introduced her to old Andrew, the caretaker, showed her through the house, then took her out to see the magnificent view from the top of the cliffs.
Oh, John, it's a wonderful old place. The house, the cliffs, the sea. I'm going to love every minute here.
I was afraid it might seem rather wild and gloomy to you, Nora.
Oh, no. Look, the clouds, the waves tossing as far as you can see, the ocean way down below us. It's magnificent.
Yeah, it can be frightening, too, when a real storm comes sweeping in from the sea.
John, what's that? Over there on that little point?
It's Stormhouse's private burying ground. That grave you see is Lizette's.
Lizette? Will you tell me more about her sometime, John?
Yes, of course. Well, now we'd better go in. It's almost dark. All of a sudden, the wind seems to be rising.
Oh, just 1 minute more.
I want to tell Andrew to phone the village for groceries before the stores close.
Well, you run in and tell him. I'll come in right away.
Then don't be long. The wind's getting cold.
Poor Lizette. I wonder what she was like. I wonder if she used to stand here and watch the darkness sweep over the sea and... John? Is that you? John, it's so dark I can't see you. John, don't I'll fall!
Nora, what is it?
Oh.
Did you call me, Nora?
Oh, John, you frightened me. I thought you really were trying to push me over.
Push you over?
I know you were just joking, but I almost lost my balance. I almost went over the cliff.
Nora, I didn't push you. I was halfway up the path when you called.
You were halfway up the path.
I wouldn't play a joke like that. You must have become dizzy.
I suppose so. But I was sure I felt your hand push me. And then the wind seemed to force me toward the edge.
It must have been the height. Made you lose your balance.
Yes, of course. That was it.
Darling, come inside now. Promise me you won't ever go close to the edge of the cliff again.
Yes, let's go inside. And I promise, John, the cliff frightens me now.
During those first weeks after John Lester returned to Stormhouse with his new bride, the wind never ceased to howl about the great old house. Several times when Nora was walking near the cliffs, strong gusts sprang up that would have pushed her over to her death if she had been walking closer to the edge. Then one afternoon, Nora discovered old Andrew piling flat, large rocks on top of Lizette's grave.
There.
Andrew, what in the world are you doing? What are those rocks on Lizette's grave for?
It's the wind, Miss Nora. Blowing night and day like it has. It's been blowing the dirt right from off Miss Lizette's grave.
How strange.
Yes, sirree. Give it a couple more weeks and it'd have scooped up all the earth and had the coffin clear uncovered. But the rocks will stop that. Yeah, I guess that's enough.
Andrew.
Yes, ma'am.
Did Lizette love John so very much?
Love Mr. Lester? Why, yes, I expect she did, ma'am, in her way.
In her way?
Excuse me, Miss Nora, I got to drive to town now for a package for Mr. Lester.
Oh, his new paints from New York. He's been so impatient for them. Oh, Andrew.
Yes, ma'am?
That big stone vase on the upper terrace, right beside the steps. It's loose on its base. I saw it swaying yesterday as if it were going to fall over into the garden. Please fix it, will you?
As soon as I get back from town, ma'am.
Thank you, Andrew. You know that Dr. Warren's staying for dinner.
Yes, Mr. Lester told me.
Oh, well, I promised to meet him in the garden at 4. Be sure to fix the vase, Andrew.
Yes.
Hello, Dr. Warren. Have I kept you waiting long?
Well, there you are, Nora. I was just beginning to be afraid you'd gone too close to the cliff and become dizzy again.
Oh, no. After almost falling over twice, I don't take any chances now.
That's the spirit. Where's John?
Painting on the upper terrace. There he is now.
Oh.
John!
Oh, hello, you two. What are you plotting down there?
A tour of the caves down by the beach. Knock off for the day and come along.
Please do, John.
Well, maybe I will. Light's fading.
John, don't lean on the stone vase. It's loose and... Oh!
Nora, look out!
Nora, you hurt? I'm coming down.
Good grief, that was close. Fell right where you were standing.
You pulled me back. Just in time.
Nora, you all right?
Yes. Yes, thanks to Dr. Warren. He saved me. I couldn't move.
I can't understand it. I'd hardly touched it when I went over.
You must have leaned against it harder than you realized.
No, I didn't. I just touched it. It gave way all of a sudden. Oh, thank heaven you were here, Howard.
It must have been the wind. And the vase was loose. I was just telling Andrew to fix it.
If you'd been hurt, Nora.
Oh, a miss is as good as a mile, darling. Come on. Let's forget the caves and go in and have tea instead. The wind has turned awfully cold all of a sudden.
Listen to that confounded wind. I can't even read anymore. It makes such a racket.
Would you like me to read to you, darling?
No. I'm just jumpy, I guess.
It isn't something special, is it? You're not regretting that you married me?
Oh, don't be silly, Nora. It's just the wind. For the last 2 months, it hasn't let up night or day. Listen to it now.
Oh, it is upsetting, darling. Sometimes it sounds just like a voice saying something you can almost make out, but not quite.
I haven't painted a stroke in 2 months. Every day I get my canvas and my paints ready, and then the wind rises and distracts me.
You're not sleeping well, are you, John?
No, I haven't slept for weeks. Nora, I can't stand it any longer. I can't stand it. That wind doesn't stop blowing, I think I'll go mad.
Oh, my darling, my darling. John, listen to me. Listen to me, dear. We must go away from Stormhouse, away from the wind. We must, John.
But the will.
The will doesn't matter. Oh, John, please say yes. We can't ever be happy here. There's something about the place that will forever prevent us.
Leave Stormhouse. Never come back.
And never come back.
Yes, Nora, you're right. We'll do it. We'll leave tomorrow.
Oh, John! Oh, we're going to have another storm.
Yes, it certainly has come up quickly. Sunset, there wasn't a sign of a storm.
It's as if Stormhouse knows we're leaving and wants to live up to its reputation on our last night. Well, darling, I think I'll go to bed and dream about leaving here tomorrow. Coming?
No, I'll finish my pipe and tell Andrew our parents.
All right, darling. I'll bring my diary up to date while I wait. Don't be long now.
Mr. John.
What is it, Andrew?
Land sakes, Mr. John. A real granddaddy of a lightning bolt hit the cliff just now, right beside the burying ground. It opened up a big crack in the earth, running right across her grave.
Her grave? Lizette's?
I could look right down and see the top of the coffin.
Oh, well, you can fix it in the morning. We're going to be leaving, Andrew, but we'll settle the details tomorrow. Better turn in now. I'll do the same.
All right, Mr. John. Sure as a humdinger of a storm.
And tomorrow we leave here forever. I do so hope it's going to make a difference. John has seemed so depressed lately. I wonder if it's my fault. If he regrets marrying me. No, I won't think that. Not even this storm tonight can frighten me now. I know John loves me and... Who turned out the light? Who came in then? John, is that you? John, where are you? Don't tease me like this. You're frightening me. John! Ah!
now to continue the story, as it is written in the sealed book. After the great storm had opened up Lizette's grave so that her coffin was plainly visible, Nora had a midnight visitor. There was a scream, and a body crumpled to the floor. The next morning, the sheriff came to talk to John.
That's all of it, Sheriff. That's all I know. Nora screamed. When I got to her, she was lying there on the floor. Dead. Murdered.
But the weapon, Mr. Lester. We know it was that antique ivory paper knife of yours, because the point broke off in the wound. But where is it?
I don't know. I tell you, I didn't see it.
I see. Well, I think you better come with me for the time being, Mr. Lester. Here's the prisoner, Doctor. You can see him for 15 minutes.
Oh, Howard, thank heaven you've come.
John, how are you?
Oh, how am I? I don't know. I don't care. Howard, have they caught Nora's murderer?
They still think you did it.
I gather that they did. And the ivory knife hasn't been found?
Nowhere. And we've searched every inch. John, think. I know when you found Nora, you were shocked and dazed. But the knife, surely you saw it. Surely you drew it from the wound, put it down somewhere. You must have.
I've tried to think, Howard. I'm sure I'm right. There was no knife. Only Nora, crumpled beside her writing desk. The blood staining her nightdress. The wind screaming outside as if in triumph.
I understand. I know you didn't murder Nora. I don't know how we're going to convince the world.
Is it as bad as that?
As bad as that. If only the knife had been found, it could have been suicide then. But the knife is gone, and you testify that Andrew is innocent. So, as there wasn't any other living soul but yourself in the house that night...
I see. Well, I've told them all I can. I don't know how the knife could have disappeared. There's nothing more I can do. Even though they hang me.
And hang John Lester they did, after a due and lawful trial. For in the jury's eyes, the fact of the missing ivory knife that had killed Nora Lester was damning evidence. After the execution, John's old friend, Dr. Warren, conveyed the body homeward to Stormhouse, where he and faithful old John buried it in the tiny burying ground. Andrew dug the grave close between the graves of Nora and Lizette. So close, in fact, that while digging, his pick struck a coffin.
Doctor, look.
Corner of a coffin. Lizette's coffin, it must be.
Yes. That night the lightning struck the cliff. Must have moved her coffin round somehow. I remember the grave looked a little queer next morning when I fixed things up.
I guess we'll have to dig it up so we can put it back in its proper place.
Yeah, guess we better, Doctor. Well, won't take long. Doctor. Guess that does it all right.
Good. Now we'll just slide the coffin back into its place. You've made plenty of room.
Dr. Warren.
What is it, Andrew?
The lid of this coffin's been tampered with.
Tampered with? But that's impossible.
Come take a look, Doctor. You'll see I'm right.
I guess I'd better. Stand aside, Andrew.
Yes.
Now, just what do you mean?
Look, Doctor. All along both sides and this end.
The screws. They're all loose.
Yes.
They've been pulled out of the wood when someone lifted the lid. This coffin's been forced open.
That's right, Doctor. Only, look, how was it forced open? There's no tool marks on the wood.
No tool marks. Then whoever did this just didn't leave any. Andrew, we've got to look inside and see why Lizette's coffin was molested.
Maybe we'd better leave it just as it is, Doctor.
We can't do that. Here, put your pick under the edge and the lid. That's it.
Now, lift.
Well, if you say so.
Easy does it. There. It's loose. Now, we'll see what...
I told you. I told you we shouldn't opened it.
A bloody knife. The ivory knife that killed Nora. Here, in Lizette's coffin.
They hung Mr. John because they couldn't find the knife. And it's been here all along, held tight in Lizette's hand.
So it was beautiful Lizette who killed Nora. Lizette, whose jealousy was so great that it reached back from behind the veil of death. And it was Lizette who took the knife of murder back into her grave with her, so that John, too, would suffer her vengeance. Or was it? Was there some other answer? You must decide that for yourself, for the sealed book does not say. You have heard the story in all its strangeness, just as it is written here. And now, keeper of the book, before you close the great book, show us the tale we tell next time. This one? Ah, yes. Why, this is amazing. It's a tale of a man who killed, a corpse that laughed, and a murder victim who died twice. A tale called The Accusing Corpse. Be sure to be with us again next time, when the sound of the great gong heralds another strange and exciting tale from The Sealed Book. The Sealed Book, written by Bob Arthur and David Cogan, is produced and directed by Jock McGregor.
Thank you for watching, and remember, the darkness awaits. Until our paths cross again, stay fearful and stay subscribed.